Congratulations to you! But for what? Congratulations to you for clicking on this video, because this is the video where you are going to master the art of communication once and for all. I really like the word art of communication. Communicating is almost like art, where you have certain tools, but you should be smart enough to use them to make your communication very, very effective. So like an artist, you're also going to learn how to communicate effectively through this session on Skillopedia, the place to learn skills for the real world. So to communicate effectively, the first point that you need to keep in mind is word choice. Why is word choice so important? Well, it's because words have power. They have the power to build nations, and words also have the power to destroy humans. So be very careful about the words that you use. Words really affect your relationships, and they really impact the image that other people carry of you. If you use negative words all the time, words like worthless, hopeless, it doesn't give a very good impact, and the person talking to you does not feel positive about you. So make sure that your words are meaningful as long as the listener can understand you. They should be colorful and positive. It's great to use words like acceptance, extraordinary, a word like positive, and a word like possible. It's possible. Try not to say too often that it's just impossible to do it. Rather, you should say that it's possible, which gives a great impact to the listener. The second thing that you need to be very careful about is not using slangs in your everyday speech as long as you're talking at work. If you're talking to your friend, it's all right to use slang words, but you should not use slang words when you're talking to people at work or at professional relationships. The third thing that you need to be very careful about is not slurring. So slurring is when you speak out words very quickly and no one can understand what you said, when you just say something so quickly that people don't understand. So make sure that your words are distinct and very clear, and you use positive, impactful words to make your relationships better. The second way to master the art of communication is by expanding your vocabulary. In the previous tip, I talked to you about word choice. So how can you choose among words if you don't have enough words in your vocabulary bank? So you should make an attempt to expand your vocabulary by reading vocabulary books or watching our videos on vocabulary at Let's Talk. This is one way to strengthen your vocabulary and sound more educated, more learned to those who are listening to you. But you have to be very careful when it comes to vocabulary. You can use good and hard vocabulary with people that you think can understand, but if you think that a layperson would not understand difficult vocabulary, so that's the time where you need to use graded vocabulary, which means easier vocabulary. The second thing that you need to take care of is the intonation when you speak. So intonation is the rising and the lowering tone of your voice. If I speak to you in a monotone, I will almost sound like a robo, and I will not be able to catch your attention. So it's important that you have a rising tone and a lowering tone so that you can keep the attention of the speaker to yourself and only yourself. The third thing that you need to take care about is the pace of your speech. So if you speak way too fastly, obviously the hearer would not be able to understand. But sometimes when you're speaking fast, it also reflects that you're very excited. So if you want to hide your excitement, try and speak a bit calmly, which reflects thoughtfulness and intelligence, of course. And the last tip that you need to take care about is your volume. So you can definitely not speak in one volume and just go on in that volume. Just imagine if a painter used only one paint in the painting. That wouldn't be nice, right? We want lots of colors. So the same way, the volume of your speech should keep changing. You should take the hearer or the listener on a roller coaster ride of communication where you go up and you go down, and they have a great experience listening to you, having all their attention exclusively to you. The third tip that I have for you is to use your emotions as an effective communicator. The key here is to not let your emotions overflow, so you should show your emotions without being too emotional. It doesn't matter if you cry in front of someone. You don't need to feel bad about it. They know that you're a very passionate person who desires success, who has certain aims and ambitions. But if you cry in front of someone, it shows a very tender side of you. It shows that you're a very soft-hearted person who understands another person's situation. And even if you get angry, it's not that bad really, unless you get angry very often. Sometimes anger reflects seriousness. So if you're very serious about a matter and you have an intense expression on your face, an intense emotion, then it's all right. It will help the listener to understand the seriousness of the situation. And sometimes if you laugh a lot, like I do most of the times, it shows that there's a fun side to you and that you do not take difficult circumstances too seriously. So it's all right if you show your emotions. They can be a very powerful tool to communicate with someone. So don't shy away from showing your emotions. Show them, but use them to communicate effectively. The fourth key to perfect communication is perfect enunciation. Does this mean same as pronunciation? No. Pronunciation means to say out a word correctly, but enunciation means to say out a word clearly. So like I told you in a tip before this, that you should not slur while you speak. This means that you should not speak out words too quickly. So the point is that you should speak out your words very clearly and distinctly so that the listener can understand you. However, it's important that you don't sound unnatural by distinctly saying every word, which will go very wrong. So what's needed is that it should be clear but not very distinct. So make sure you get the enunciation right so that the listener can hear the punch in your voice when you're talking. All the tips that we have looked at before are where we are talking about verbal communication, where you use your words. It's very important that what you say through words, it really impacts your communication, but as important is what you don't say while you're communicating. Here we are talking about your body language, which means how do you use your hands and how do you use your body? What position are you sitting in? Are you looking into the eyes of the person that you're talking to? All these points really affect your communication very strongly. So if you sit with hands like this and you don't move them at all, this stiffness shows that you're kind of a bit arrogant person who is not interested in listening to the other person. Maybe you're not arrogant and you're really interested in the communication, but it shows that you're not. So it's better to keep your hands loose and be very demonstrative with your hand. Now this doesn't mean that you go around making different patterns with your hand and the listener would think, okay, what is she going to do next? Not like that, but that you use them to express yourself correctly. Now coming to your eyes, it's very important that you look into the eyes of the person that you're talking to. Have you ever spoken to somebody who is not looking into your eyes and is looking everywhere except at you? What does it show? It reflects a lack of interest in what you are talking. So that person is possibly not interested in listening to you. So if you do that to someone for any reason, make sure you don't do that anymore and you look carefully in their eyes and show that you're interested in listening to them. The final thing that you need to be very careful about in terms of body language is your position. Especially when you're in a meeting or when you're giving a presentation, you should be very careful about where you're standing and how you're standing. Sometimes you would choose to even sit down while giving a presentation, which is absolutely correct. There's nothing wrong about it. Just that it shows that you're very casual. But it's okay to be casual if you're working with your close colleagues or people that you know very well. However, if you're giving a meeting to about 1,000 people, it's important that you stand, which shows strength in what you're talking and it catches the listener's attention entirely. So these are the tips for body language. Make sure that you incorporate them in your communication because this is as important as the words that you choose. The idea for all these principles that I have shared with you is to add variety to your communication. Think of yourself. Would you like to talk to a person who talks at one speed, one tone, without any emotion, without any passion. No, that person is too predictable and you know what they're going to say and you even lose interest when they are talking. So the challenge is that you should use all these tips that I've shared with you and become master communicators, effective communicators. Make sure you practice all of these tips into your everyday life, and I hope this was very helpful for you. So thank you. This is Michelle signing off from Skillopedia, the place to learn skills for the real world.